Greetings, DMs, GMs, and players. This is the Insomniac GM, and today, I just want to share a conversation I had with one of my friends. Um, I'm probably going to get some dislikes for this video, but I just figured this was a good talking point I just wanted to get off my chest. Now, I want to share my thoughts on Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition and why I feel that way. Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, it's a good system. However, I feel like it was released unfinished. I feel there are many unfinished ideas. And looking at the Mordecai book we're going to be getting in the future, I'm still not happy enough with the fixes to even bother. So what are my issues with it? Well, first off, I will give you my personal taste on what's wrong. What I don't like about it is I don't like how geared it is towards combat. Now, I know that all is depending on what game style you play. However, how I feel towards it isn't exactly that in the matter. It's you make a character who can hit hard, who can do a lot of damage. You go to games like Pathfinder, or I'll just use Pathfinder because that's the current competitor in a sense. Yes, you are also encouraged to do a lot of damage too. However, the game is more dangerous, it is more lethal. So when you go to 5th edition, whatever monster is thrown in front of the players, a lot of times the players just run in swords swinging. And in Pathfinder, at least your players are more hesitant. They'll put on buffs, they'll try to debuff the monster. Yes, it's still a power tactic in that, but that's my issues with that. Now, I prefer games where if the players are going to charge into battle, they want to first have a plan, or first do research, then make a plan, and have a backup plan. Sometimes even a backup for that backup plan. And I like seeing that happen. And I run my games more lethal, and it works out. Now, I should state when I say I run my games more lethal, I run Pathfinder 1 and 2E more lethal, and OSR games, I don't need to change anything. It runs the way I want it. Now, when it comes to 5th edition, I just feel it is way too much work to make the game lethal, to challenge my players. It's possible. It's just, at that point, I'm just doing too much work. I can just go to Pathfinder, I can just grab a monster and throw it at my players and do no work. But 5th edition, it's like, I gotta set up a map that makes it more difficult. I gotta put down traps or something. And then I gotta set a monster. And again, 5th edition struggles to make it challenging. Which goes into the problem I have with monsters. With monsters in 5th edition, if you remove the name and you remove the you just remove the name, for the most part the stats are so similar to each other that you can't really tell what monster you're fighting at times. I mean, some monsters, like for instance the Beholder, you can tell. But like if I threw a goblin at you and I threw, trying to think of an example. I mean, I could throw kobold at you. You're gonna see the difference, or you're not gonna see the difference. Like you may kill one faster, but they're so similar. If you go to Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2, um, oh, I should state my other issue real quick with the game too. For me, is the amount of detail in these monsters. So, okay, I just went to the Displacer Beast. We'll go with that one. Okay. This Displacer Beast has so much of the page already taken up. Talking about where it lives, how it lives, how it goes about combat. Usually when you see a Displacer Beast, they're in pairs of 2 to a max of 5 of them. So they don't hunt alone. They're packed creatures. There's so much detail just to this one monster. I can even run a one shot on a Displacer Beast or a few of them, and that's good enough. If I run it in 5th edition, no, a Displacer Beast would be a minion at that point. It does not encourage weaker monsters like being in the spotlight like that. And if so, you gotta overrun the players with a bunch of enemies. You know? Um, I also feel like there's a lot of great monsters that are just thrown out the window that have a missed opportunity that could be in the game. I don't need to list them because I have a whole YouTube playlist that I'm continuing to grow. I mean, yes, there are Pathfinder monsters in there too, but I mean, I gotta be honest, I love Pathfinder in comparison, but there are some missed opportunities. Like this book here, there are a whole assortment of different types of beholders. Yes, you have those ones, but you also got these ones that don't make an appearance in 5th edition. Not all of those make an appearance in 5th edition. There's so many. Now, another thing too is it just seems like everything has too much hit points. Both monsters and players. It becomes a slugfest. And the whole fact that there's opportunity attacks makes it where combat is very, very static. With Pathfinder's full attack action, it encourages you not to stay in place hitting each other. OSR, you don't need to worry about that. It's like they didn't want to choose either of those options and went with the worst choice. So it just makes combat very boring for me. Now, another thing too is I don't like how the classes are built with the stats. Example, if I can't just be like, I'm going to play a wizard and roll my stats in order. At that point, I'm screwed. I'm not a useful wizard at all. At least with the OSR, you can roll that way and still make a useful wizard. You're not going to be the most effective, but you're still a lot more useful than you are as a bad wizard in 5e. Now, another thing too is I love OSR games. How simple the rules are. I love that a lot of it is interpreted by the DM. Yes, 5e has that. However, one of the biggest issues is can't think of the name of the guy. One of the head people, Chris Perkins or whatever his name. Uh, he he's on Twitter. It might be someone else. One of the two big people from Wizards. He's on Twitter, and anytime he's asked a question, he answers it's no longer interpreted by the DM. Like the biggest one I saw was they had a question on if a player's unconscious and they have a shield, do they still get the shield bonus? And he responded, yes, you still get the shield bonus. It's not written in the book. What just happened there is now that guy pretty much called out the DM who made that call in that game. And it's like, well, one of the head people of D&D just said you were wrong. You know, it's just kind of counterproductive. And it just seems like when it comes to the classes, they just, at this point, they're stepping on each other's toes too much. You know, especially with Tasha's, where they expanded the spell list of all these classes and that. You know, just add more spells. Put those spells for those classes if you really want it. Don't retread pre existing spells like that, because now there's less unique spells for these classes. As you can tell, there's like a whole rant, and I have a lot to say about 5th edition. But it just seems like when it comes to running a game, out of all the RPGs on my system, I try to run 5th edition, and every time I try, I can't come to anything with it. Like, I'll get excited about an idea, and I'm just like, well, this RPG does X and Y better, and that fits the tone so much better. Why am I running it in 5th edition? It just, this book is just, my 5th edition books are just sitting there collecting dust. And it's because I gotta work hard to try to fix the issues I have with 5th edition, and I fix so much, it gets to the point where it's like, I can just go and play a different RPG at that point. You know? Another issue I have, equipment. Who's gonna play with a blue gun? Why? You know, between choosing a sword and a rapier, what's the was it a no sorry short sword or a scimitar? What's the difference? It's just flavor at that point. Like, why do you even have that? The whole there are way too many races in the game, and they have way too little flavor at this point. You know, the more races they add into the game to play, the less flavor there is at this point. And especially removing the ability modifiers, it gets rid of the flavor even more. And I know some people will defend it and that, but the whole thing is yes, you can move it. As Max says from Legion of Myth, it's backwards think to remove something from the game, and it's your job to put it in. No, you should have it in there, and we can change it. We, the DMs, that is what we can do. I just had a Pathfinder game where I removed Pathfinder races, and I added some D&D ones, and it was a list of, okay, here's the ones you can play. There are races they never thought they would have the chance to play. There's ones they didn't even know existed, and yeah, none of them complained about it. I gave them a good, solid selection. And that's because I tried going with what fits my world. It seems like not everyone, but a good chunk of the community wants you to alter your world, whether it's homebrew or it's an official campaign setting. They want you to alter it to fit their character. I've seen someone who wanted to play an artificer in a low fantasy game, and they were trying to force the DM into letting them have a robot, and then they threw a huge fit when they couldn't. Um, I've just seen so many crazy things with stuff like that. Um, there's no reason to play a human anymore in this game, and they're supposed to be the most common race. Um, Now, when it comes to like all the supplements and that too, this is the biggest issue I've had with this game is after Tasha's, this was my final foot down, and that was just all the reprints. I kept trying to support Wizards. I kept trying to support 5th edition in the hopes it would get better, and instead, all the books I had on my shelf just became obsolete. And it's just, why? If you had things you wanted to fix, like the Blade Singer, there's Rada. Why do you got to bring that over to Tasha's? Why do you got to reprint so much? Like, if you remove all the errata from Tasha's, or I mean, if you remove all the reprints from Tasha's, the page count is pretty small. And then you go with the whole useless section that shouldn't be in there. Like, it should have been in the Dungeon Master's Guide about session zeros and that should not have been in Tasha's. Like, you remove all that, and the amount of content that's useful for me in that book alone is very slim, especially with how high magic everything is. It drives me crazy. But yeah, like the closest thing I've ever seen to fix 5e the way I want it is either run 5 torches deep or get Grim Gems or Postmortems 5e supplement book where it lowers the player's armor class. It actually makes strength and intelligence important, which is a big issue I have with 5th edition too, because those are dumb stats with how the game is. Because most classes don't need strength or intelligence because Dex is so good, and you're not really punished for not choosing intelligence. There are so many things I can probably go on about that I'm forgetting on the spot. And like I said, I know I'm gonna get hate for this, but it was just a conversation one of my buddies and I had. And we didn't have this discussion out of hate. He was just curious. And I had this talk with him, and it was like, okay, you know what? You started making me think about it. Maybe I should just get it off my chest. So because of that, you're not going to see new 5th edition content on here. That's why you see me mention 5th edition a lot, is because I'm trying to help some people fix their games, but I don't think I'm going to go back to 5th edition. Yeah, but the biggest fix I can say for 5th edition I have, for me, that works, is go find a different game to play. The way I want to play 5th edition is I want to play Forbidden Lands, so instead of altering 5th edition to be that way, I'll just go play Forbidden Lands. So, sorry for this video being such a long rant, and, I figured it surfaced up, and I figured I'd just release that frustration once more. And hopefully this is the last time I bring it up. So, I'll keep making content for 5th edition fans and that. Just no, don't expect anything new like 5th edition book-wise. Well, until next time, take care.